What's up, and welcome to Guiding Bolt. Today's quick tip D&D topic is about skill challenges. Skill challenges are conflicts or trials that go beyond combat or simple conversation that player characters can overcome through thoughtful use of skills, equipment, or expertise. Skill challenges were part of 4th edition, but unfortunately at the time they were poorly explained, lacked clear stakes and urgency, and resulted in confusion for many. Despite all that, I personally love skill challenges and wanted to share how we employ them in our 5e campaigns. Now, I'm not going to cover all the rules around skill challenges today. You can go look those up for yourself, but I do want to share some tips to help make your skill challenges fun and effective. I'll start off by saying that skill challenges aren't for every table. Some groups may just not enjoy them, and that's okay. Remember, every play group is different, so do what works well for your table. Second, we don't employ skill challenges all the time. While you can often expect regular combat during game sessions, I would not put skill challenges in that same category. They can be a fun way to add variety to or break up a session, but our group on average has no more than one skill challenge every 2 to 3 sessions. What I love most about skill challenges is that they demand creativity, teamwork, and resourcefulness from the players. Skill challenges can give players an open arena to think outside of the box, or possibly even use skills, abilities, or equipment that don't often see much limelight. The types of scenarios I like best for skill challenges are those that are integral to the story and moving the campaign forward, but are situations that might become difficult or tedious to fully roleplay or enact. A few examples may include traveling across the wilderness from point A to point B, fortifying a town before an impending attack, finding the village's 5 missing children before the full moon rises, carrying out a chase scene through a city's busy streets, or stealing a jewel from the castle's vaults, Mission Impossible style. When it comes to skill challenges, you don't want them to devolve into a series of disconnected dice rolls. That's just going to feel like a slog for all involved. Instead, you want there to be an objective for the challenge. The PCs should be working towards some common goal through the advancement of the challenge. Succeeding the skill challenge means they achieve the objective. Failing the skill challenge doesn't mean they should end at a dead end or start back where they were at the beginning of the challenge, but there should be consequences that come about as a result. In other words, there needs to be stakes, and the outcome should make a difference. Let's take the scenario of the party traveling from point A to point B as an example. Succeeding the skill challenge means they arrive at point B as planned. Failing the skill challenge, however, shouldn't mean they loop back and find themselves at point A again, but consequences should happen. Those can be varied. It might mean they make it to point B, but they got lost along the way, and the journey took an extra week to complete, causing them to spend extra resources or even gain levels of exhaustion. Or it might mean they find themselves ending up at point C. They still have the option to then try to proceed to point B, but point C might offer up different choices or opportunities for them to take the campaign in. During the skill challenge, but before final success or failure, I feel it's important to immerse the players in the scenario that's happening. This helps connect those dice rolls into a series that leads towards or away from the objective. Doing so uses the skill challenge to advance the story, giving players a sense of progress and direct engagement in the storyline. Let's jump back to our example in which we've decided the party needs 5 successes before 3 failures in order to accomplish the skill challenge of reaching point B. The party starts out at the edge of a dark forest. The druid decides he wants to use survival to try and find a game path to navigate through the forest. If he succeeds on his roll, you describe that he's able to find a deer path through the forest that allows them to quickly make it through the thick underbrush, bringing them one day early to the river crossing. If he fails his roll, Perhaps you describe that they get turned around in the thick underbrush. When they finally make it to the other side of the forest, they find themselves at the edge of a smelly, acidic swamp. Each time a player succeeds or fails a roll, the party progresses forward in the story, but a success might mean an easier, quicker, or less challenging time, while a failure might slow them down, cost them resources, or throw in additional obstacles along the way. Narrating the party's progress through the challenge sets the players up with progressive scenes that gives their characters different opportunities to interact with and participate in the skill challenge. At our table, we don't require a PC to be proficient in a skill or tool in order to use it during a challenge so as not to stifle creativity, but we do make the rule that the same individual cannot use the same skill more than once in a skill challenge, and that the same individual cannot go twice in a row. Because, of course, if player 1 just finished dealing with scenario A, they can't possibly be prepared to have their full focus on scenario B, so better let another party member handle that one. Now, if you have a few strong members at your game table, I might recommend using initiative order to ensure that all players have an opportunity to participate, even if their decision is simply to aid another player. We have a pretty good balance at our own table, so we normally just popcorn it around. My final recommendation around skill challenges is to announce them to the table when you're entering one. Yes, this might break immersion, but I find that it's helpful to have everyone on the same page to prevent confusion. Our table even likes to announce the number of successes that are needed before X failures in order to succeed at the challenge, but of course, only the DM knows the DC level, and they're secretly keeping score to keep tensions running high. If your table is newer to skill challenges, I would also provide an example or two of how players can offer up suggestions on how they'd like to proceed with the challenge roll. And remember, players can't say they want to use history and then make a die roll. They have to explain how they plan to use that skill in the current situation. If you feel like that makes sense, then you ask for the skill roll. For example, back in my College of Lore days, I took a class on puzzles and mazes. I'd like to make a history check to see if I remember about hints and helpful tips for navigating labyrinths. Or, I want to jump that fruit cart to try and gain some ground on this bandit we're chasing. All right, sounds like a good plan. Why don't you go ahead and make a roll for athletics or acrobatics? I hope you found today's video helpful. Don't forget to give us a like and a subscribe, and then drop a comment down below sharing a scenario that you think makes for a good skill challenge. We'll see you all back here next week.